17's political reporter, Vincent Amonte. We're just under an hour from the State of the Union, where President Trump will address a joint session of Congress. Now, this is the president's fourth time giving the constitutionally required address between his two terms. The speech is an opportunity for the commander-in-chief to highlight key successes during their administration and look ahead to policy priorities, both foreign and domestic, for the coming year. This comes as the president's approval ratings has fallen, according to a newly released IFSO and Rutgers poll. And to break down what we can expect for the 2026 State of the Union address is our KGET political analysts. On our right here, we have Kathy Abernathy, president of Western Pacific Research. And on the left, we have Christian Romo, chair of the Kern County Democratic Party. Thank you both so much for being here with me. Obviously, big night for the world of politics here today. All right, so to begin, I am really interested in just hearing what both of you are expecting to hear from the president tonight in his big speech, the first one of his second term.
Right, second year of his second term. Right, right. No, it's a good night for him to go over successes. He's only been there 1 year. He's got the border problem solved, which was a big problem, and they're getting some of the illegal criminals out and getting that with a new head person, which I think will make that go a lot better than it was. But the big, beautiful bill, the taxes are coming down. People are going to notice that. You know, this didn't pass till a few months ago, so it takes a while for all this to kick in. It's good right now. I brought this to show you. Here's eggs, $1.49 at Vons and Albertsons. Now, your gasoline's high, but that's Sacramento's problem. Cost of housing's high, but that's Sacramento's problem. That's not Donald Trump. So I do hope that people understand the distinction. So, and then of course the foreign affairs issue is going to be big. We're going to have to talk about Iran, and I think we all know that's the enemy. What do you do? Because he's made it clear, we don't want you to have the nuclear power, and of course they're going to fight that. So I don't know if fight it literally, but they're going to have to, we have to do things like get them in trade and other ways to hurt them, then that might be the most successful.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to wait and see on that. Christian, how about you?
You know, big surprise, I'm going to disagree with Kathy on a couple points, but I think the number one thing we could both agree on is that it's going to be a long one. I mean, Donald Trump does have the record for having the longest State of the Union. He kind of alluded to it being a long one for tonight. But you know, the first thing he said when he first got sworn into office, he's going to bring costs down, make it more affordable for Americans to live. That hasn't happened. He said he would do it day one. Well, this is the beginning of his second year in office, and it's still not happening. Right? Prices are still to the roof. Eggs might be a little bit better, but inflation's still relatively high, higher than we would like it to be. And I wish he would focus more on domestic issues. So, I mean, going back to immigration, yes, obviously we want criminals to be deported, but ultimately that's not happening. We had 2 American citizens born in this country shot and killed by our own ICE, federal agents, I guess you'd call them, right? So, that's going to be an issue that needs to be addressed, and he needs to answer up to that. Why did this happen? Why didn't he address the nation sooner about this? And how can he explain what's going on? Because we're not really deporting criminals other than the crime being coming to the nation and working hard and paying taxes, because at the end of the day, they are paying taxes. And I think he needs to be refocusing his efforts away from international issues and bring them back home. So we'll have to wait and see what he says about Iran, Venezuela, what the plan is there, because we still haven't got a plan. And then I think healthcare, another big issue going into the midterms, it's probably one of the number one issues other than affordability, is healthcare costs are going up. Middle-class Americans are seeing their rates go up, and we need to have an answer to that. There's still no healthcare plan. He said he was going to have a plan in the first term. He still doesn't have a plan in the second term, and so we'd like to have some answers to that tonight.
Yeah, well, before we dive into a lot of these big policy things, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts real quick about that poll that I had mentioned earlier here on the show. And that is an ABC News Washington Post poll, which says that President Trump's approval rating underwater, 64% of voters disapproving of his job in office, according to that poll, which came out over the weekend. Both your guys' reaction to that number there?
Well, I don't know what that poll was conducting and how they, there's a million surveys going on right now. But when you get down to it, what has been the alternative? The alternative was Joe Biden, okay? And nobody wanted that again, okay? And even the Democrats didn't want that again. I just cited some prices. I just cited the fact that it's not true. Prices aren't going up. And what he tried to do with tariffs and is doing is that they're stealing American jobs. Everything in your house, you pull it out. It says made in China. It says made in India. We have to get production here. And the way he's trying to do it was he worked on tariffs. He can still use that. He's not doing that for his benefit. He's doing that for the job market here. bringing back the car industry. These are big projects. He's been in there 11 and a half months, a year, and when he says day one, I think you know darn well that's his saying that was his goal, to get that going, and he has. When I see the cars lined up, just yesterday, 5, 7 deep at all these fast food restaurants, then even in the department stores at Valley Plaza, people are shopping and spending money. So somehow it is working, and I'm certain it is, because there's a much more pro-business, pro-jobs attitude with this administration, not more welfare, getting healthy young men to work instead of stay home and get benefits. That's not good. That's not good for them. It's not good for the working taxpayer.
Yeah, well, one sec before we get to you, Chris, on that point of affordability, Kathy, the president has called affordability in December of last year a Democratic hoax. He's said now recently that affordability is no longer an issue. Do you feel that Kern County residents would agree with that stance that the president said, that affordability is no longer this big issue as it was about a year ago?
Well, Kern County, compared to Texas or some other state, counties in other states, they might say no, because again, it's Sacramento. It's that gasoline that I paid $4.99 today for gasoline in Bakersfield, and we have the stuff in the ground and we can't pull it out. But in other states, they're paying $2 and $3. Why is that? That's Sacramento. Our housing costs is Sacramento. The costs on our economy that hurt isn't what's going on in Washington. It's what's going on in Sacramento. And people, please understand that. That's where the problem is for our day-to-day. But I'll tell you, if they're in the restaurants, which I see them, if they're in the fast food lines of inexpensive food, it still costs money than to make it at home. And eggs, $1.49 for 12. It was $8 when Trump went into office. Okay, so it's better. You have to admit it.
Yeah. Well, Chris, in response to that, and also I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the whole immigration thing. Obviously, this is going to be a big talking point for the president. Thoughts about these ICE raids, as well as some of that immigration policy that's been going out recently.
I'll start with affordability, because that's the word that Donald Trump refuses to use. It is not a hoax. It's what 67% of Americans just said they feel is the number one issue, right? When voters went to the polls, and I'll even say it for the last election with President Trump and Kamala Harris, they said you need to be talking about affordability. That fell flat, I think, for the Democratic Party, unfortunately. We said that social issues are number one, but really, ultimately, it was affordability. Can they afford to buy a house? Can they afford to make their mortgage payment and make sure that they have a life to live? Credit card debt is through the roof. Unemployment rate is up. Certain things I guess you could say went down, but really inflation has still gone up. And there's now businesses saying that these tariffs had really impacted their bottom lines, and they're going to be asking for that money back, because the Supreme Court just ruled that these tariffs were illegal. So I'm glad that the Supreme Court said that, and now it's really a question of how we're going to get that money back to the people that it was illegally taken from, which are going to ultimately cost the American taxpayer. But to answer your question about immigration, yes, I guess the border is secure, more secure. That was already the trend under Biden. So we still have to fund that. I believe that's an important issue for the American people. But ultimately, he said he's going to remove criminals. Has he done that? Sure. But really, what he's done is torn American families apart. We have more than 2, but for sure 2 very publicized deaths of American citizens that were not immigrants, that were not criminals, that were shot by our ICE agents. That's not okay. These ICE raids actually started here in Kern County. We saw that, where they said, we're attacking the immigrants, we're going after the immigrants. They had, I believe, 78 arrests, but really 75 or 76 of them were not even criminals. They're just immigrants trying to work, trying to pay their taxes to this nation, and really they're residents and by American citizens.
Okay,
Right.
let's remember, you got to follow the law. You don't take your car and ram it into ICE agents, all right?
Yeah,
you do follow the law if you don't want to get hurt.
Yeah,
You do have rights as Americans under the Constitution.
Not to ride your car into cops.
The Constitution applies to
try
all
that
residents.
down the street.
Look, we have plenty of time. I wish we could talk about this for hours on end. But we will have continuing coverage on the State of the Union address coming up at 5:30 with NBC Nightly News, followed by that speech by the president coming up at 6 p.m. But